It began with a silence so cold, so surgical,
We got to
that
rebuild
even the
into the next
cameras
general
froze.
election. That's the
Then
top.
Donald Trump stepped forward, eyes locked on the teleprompter for only a second before he looked directly into the lens, as if confronting Britain itself. His voice cut through the hall like a blade. "The special relationship," he said, "is over, unless Britain seals that channel." Gasps rippled through the room. Reporters glanced at each other. Before we roll the footage, just one thing: if you enjoy our work, drop a like and hit subscribe. Over 98% of you are watching without subscribing. Let's change that right now. It's free for you, but it fuels everything we do. Subscribed? Perfect. Now, enjoy the video. A few even stood, unsure if they just witnessed a diplomatic warning or the declaration of a geopolitical war. But Trump didn't blink. He didn't retract. He doubled down. And in 12 brutal seconds, he delivered a verdict that shattered decades of quiet cooperation and transformed a former alliance into a global humiliation. He didn't merely criticize Starmer's government. He accused it of betrayal. "Britain has become a sanctuary for parasites and unwanted elements," he declared, waving a stack of documents stamped with the seal of the Center for Migration Control. "People America rejected, people we banned." The words were explosive, but the numbers were worse. Trump revealed figures so shocking, so impossible to ignore, that even his aides seemed stunned he'd say them aloud. 232,000 migrants, he said, from countries on the US banned list. And they walked right into your country. No screening, no security, just walked. He let the silence linger. Then he clicked a remote. Behind him, screens lit up with charts of the US-Mexico border wall. The comparison was brutal. "We protect our people," he said calmly, "while London surrenders its streets to chaos." The line hit like an echoing explosion, and suddenly the room felt smaller, colder. Trump described arrivals not as asylum seekers, but as drains on society, individuals who eat through benefits while living in three-star hotels on the taxpayer's dime. The contrast was surgical. While Starmer offered warm welcomes and weekly stipends, Trump showcased ICE units executing military-style deportation raids. He claimed over 500,000 illegals removed since his return to power. He pointed to a border wall that, according to his figures, slashed crossings by 95% and prevented nearly 2 million illegal entries. Each statistic felt like a punch aimed directly at Downing Street. But then Trump pivoted, and the tone shifted from accusation to demolition. "London," he said, pausing as if weighing the word, "is unrecognizable." And then he unleashed a personal strike on Mayor Sadiq Khan, accusing him of turning the capital into a city abandoned to crime, fear, and incompetence. Analysts later said that line alone detonated the crisis. But Trump wasn't done. What he delivered next wasn't rhetoric. It was a threat crafted like an economic missile. "We are prepared," he said, "to impose a 100% tariff on British pharmaceutical exports." The press room erupted. "This isn't a warning," Trump continued. "This is a guarantee." Analysts later calculated the potential damage. An £8 billion hole in the UK's annual budget. Enough to flatten entire sectors. Enough to destroy the already shaking confidence in the City of London. And then the second missile landed. A 25% levy on British steel and aluminium. Land Rover, Mini, Bentley. Entire industries built on transatlantic trade suddenly staring at annihilation. Economists estimated another £2 billion annual loss. Together, the tariffs formed a vice around Britain's throat, a coordinated economic strangulation timed down to the minute. Trump said nothing more about the tariffs. He simply stepped back from the podium and let the numbers choke the oxygen out of the room. Within minutes, Nigel Farage posted a video mocking Starmer's humiliation at the White House. The clip hit 1 million views in an hour, and social media split down the middle, half furious at Trump's tone, half furious that he might be right. The BBC interrupted programming. The Guardian called it a modern Suez. The Telegraph called it Britain's darkest diplomatic hour in a generation. And still the story kept mutating, accelerating, spiraling. Financial markets reacted instantly. Sterling plunged. London-listed tech firms lost billions in valuation in a single afternoon. Trump twisted the knife. mocking the exodus of American billionaires and tech giants fleeing London for New York after the Labour government abolished non-dom status. "There's no money left in London," Trump said. "Only debt and migrants." That line replayed on every network for the rest of the night. Downing Street scrambled. Officials were seen sprinting through corridors. Anonymous aides leaked details to Sky News, describing scenes of panic, terror, and a prime minister cornered by his own policies. Inside the chaos, another detail emerged: Trump's offer, a solution that was less a proposal and more a demand for submission. "We will deploy American border specialists to the English Channel," Trump said, "to stop the boats for you." The implication was devastating. Accept the offer, and Britain admits it can't secure its own borders. Reject it, and the economic retaliation begins. It was a geopolitical trap, a checkmate, a humiliation unseen in modern peacetime diplomacy. Whitehall staffers whispered the same phrase all night: "We're in the crosshairs now." As markets tumbled, a TikTok clip went viral. An ex-Cambridge professor said, "We need to face the truth. Starmer's politics may cost us our biggest ally." 8 million views in 3 hours. The narrative was crystallizing. Trump's point had landed hard, and now the world was reacting. European capitals distanced themselves. G7 finance ministers refused comment. Analysts from Oxford and LSE appeared on late-night broadcasts, warning that the UK could face capital flight unprecedented in modern financial history. The City of London, normally unshakable, found itself staring at a nightmare: a sudden withdrawal of American investment funds that could collapse liquidity overnight. At the same time, whispers emerged from Washington. Officials joked that Britain is becoming the first Muslim country with nuclear weapons. The remark, caught on a hot mic, triggered outrage in Westminster and panic in the Foreign Office. Defence experts warned that NATO could push Britain out of core decision-making rooms. The unthinkable was suddenly being discussed openly. This wasn't simply diplomatic friction. It was statecraft designed to force obedience. Britain, long the bridge between Europe and America, now found itself burning on both ends, watching its position erode with every new headline. The pound slid further. Insurance markets priced in the probability of a total collapse of the US-UK trade agreement. Cabinet ministers whispered about resignations. Backbenchers plotted an internal challenge. Starmer's authority was crumbling faster than his staff could manage the fallout. But the crisis didn't stop at economics. It metastasized into national security. The Five Eyes Intelligence Alliance, one of the deepest, most secretive partnerships in the world, was suddenly under review. Washington questioned London's reliability. High-technology transfers, critical components for British jets, missiles, and naval systems were reportedly on hold. A single interruption could ground portions of the RAF and cripple the Royal Navy's carrier strike groups. It was the kind of vulnerability Britain hadn't faced in decades. Inside the Foreign Office, talk grew darker. Trump's team circulated a dossier detailing 12 public insults made by Foreign Secretary David Lammy. Their message was blunt: remove the Foreign Secretary or lose access to the Oval Office. Starmer now faced a choice: humiliate his most loyal ally, or watch Britain drift into diplomatic exile. And then came the energy war. Trump slashed environmental regulations, killed 3 climate subsidies, and opened up drilling across the Midwest. Oil futures plunged. American manufacturing boomed. British industrial electricity prices, already sky high, soared to 400% of US levels. Trump mocked the UK's 2030 petrol car ban, calling it a suicide pact for your auto industry. Investors fled Britain's green funds for American fossil giants. The UK's commitments became another weapon used against it. Meanwhile, Starmer announced increased subsidies for wind energy. Washington read it as weakness. Trump's energy secretary accused the UK of economic self-harm. US strategists saw an opportunity: weaponize cheap oil to steal what remained of British heavy industry. The calculation was brutal, and it worked. By the end of the week, the diplomatic freeze had turned deeply personal. Elon Musk entered the battlefield, attacking the UK's Online Safety Act and framing it as an assault on free speech. Trump amplified the claim, calling Britain the censorship capital of the West. Silicon Valley piled on. London's tech sector hemorrhaged confidence. And finally, the ultimate humiliation leaked. The White House had quietly drafted a list of policy concessions Britain must accept before relations can normalize. Among them, immediate reversal of migration policies, acceptance of American border units patrolling UK waters and turns, removal of David Lammy P., suspension of key green deadlines, restoration of non-dom tax privileges to attract American wealth. If Britain refuses, Washington will proceed with tariffs, intelligence restrictions, and a full exit from joint military training. Inside Downing Street, the mood reportedly collapsed into despair. Treasury models predicted catastrophic instability if US markets shut their doors. The Home Office couldn't defend the migration numbers. Defense chiefs warned that losing American tech transfers could cripple national security. And political aides whispered that Starmer's leadership had become the single greatest threat to Britain's future. The government was out of time, out of leverage, and out of allies. The special relationship once described as unbreakable now felt like a relic. The pressure campaign had become a transatlantic earthquake, shaking the foundations of British identity itself. Britain's image as a sovereign, powerful nation was suddenly questioned not by adversaries, but by its closest ally. And as the crisis deepened, one question began circulating quietly among diplomats. Not shouted, not written, just whispered. Has Britain already lost the relationship without realizing it? Trump ended his speech with one final warning, a line that echoed long after the cameras stopped. "Fix your borders," he said, "or we will fix them for you." The room fell silent. The world watched. And Britain's fate hung in that silence like a blade. Now everything depends on the next move. Will Starmer bow to Washington's demands? Will the tariffs collapse the economy? Will the special relationship survive this blow? Or is this the moment Britain's isolation becomes irreversible? If you want to follow every twist of this unfolding geopolitical earthquake, hit subscribe. The next revelation may drop at any moment. And trust me, you won't want to miss what happens next.